Just want to welcome you all to our Everything You Want to Know class. We want to learn about impact distribution today. And I want to remind you that we have two more grants this year for the Roy Dean grant in fall is closing October 31st on Halloween. And then after that, we've created a new film for short films for students. So anyone you know, or if you're still taking classes, you're very welcome to join to apply for that grant. That closes November 30th. And our website is loaded with a lot of information for you. Look under resources and you'll find everything from how to set your goals to film funding, crowdfunding, funding parties, all of those things you really want to think about, because this is the time that people give money the most during the whole year. It's usually the last 3 or 4 months, because they know if they have taxable income. And so your pitch is that use that money to help me fund my film. So let's get started, Nahid. I'll let you introduce Chelo and tell us more about what's going on.
Thank you, Carol. The outline for our class is Chelo shares her insights on how to create and implement a sustainable international impact campaign for your film. Please put your questions in the chat bar and I will ask them for you. After the questions, we will have some fun and awards for film buffs. Carol created film questions for you. They're about classic films you love. The first one to put the answer in the chat bar is the winner. You can win 2 classes in From the Heart's Producer to Producer class. This is a 26-class session over a year to teach writers, editors, documenters how to produce their material. We believe you need to expand your knowledge of our industry, and with producing techniques, writers can produce their own films and documentary filmmakers make their own docs. During today's class, everyone will stay muted and we encourage you to put your questions in the chat bar. This class is for you to take advantage of Chelo's knowledge and learn all you can. That is our outline for today, and we sincerely appreciate you joining us. Let me now introduce to you Chelo Alvarez-Stehle. Chelo Alvarez-Stehle is a multi-award-winning world reporter, author, documentary filmmaker, and impact producer with focus on human rights. She has lived in Europe, Asia, and the Americas, and her work spans also to Australia and Africa. Her worldwide experiences, multiple language ability, and the empathy she has developed with victims, survivors, perpetrators, and advocates, and her connections with people at all levels of society, from environmentalists to academics and legislators, give her a unique perspective and access to develop impact campaigns. Welcome, Chelo.
Thank you so much, Nahid and Carol. Give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, here we are. Well, thank you so much to all of you who are attending this class. Almost 200 people register. I'm like, unbelievable. Thank you so much, Nahid, for all your technical assistance. You're a fantastic professional. Joining us from Kenya, which is fantastic. And Carol Dean, I mean, what can I say? You've been my mentor since the early 2000s. So you've been a fantastic, inspirational figure in all my trajectory. So thank you so much. And From the Heart has been the fiscal sponsor for most of my projects. And I'm very, very grateful. Okay, so we start with this quote. Well, first of all, let me tell you that because we're all visual storytellers and storytellers are hard, I'll tell a little story as we go. It's not going to be like an instructional conference, you know, it's more like sharing my life experiences with you, and I hope they help you. So I love this quote by James Baldwin: "The world changes according to the way people see it. And if you can alter even by a millimeter the way people look at reality, then you can change the world." And excuse my accent, of course, I'm Spaniard. Okay, so on this regard, I wanted to bring your attention to this Guernica painting that you all know. Picasso had been apolitical, but in 1937, the Spanish Civil War had a profound effect on him, and it led him to capture the horrors of the Nazi bombardment of Guernica, a small town in the Basque Country, not far from where I was born, 2 hours away. So when Picasso was asked to speak at the 1950 Peace Congress in Sheffield, he said, "I stand for life against death. I stand for peace against war." So today I wanted to start this gathering of souls that we are all trying to change the world with 1 minute of silence. I invite you to close your eyes for 1 minute and then just feel the peace inside and send the peace to all those that need it right now so badly. Okay. 1 minute has passed, 1 minute of peace. I hope we could have a whole life of peace. Okay, so what is impact producing? Let's look at traditional distribution, okay? 1 second. Okay, so traditional distribution is transactional. We all know that we want to have our films in the theaters and get a huge amount of income through the box office. And that's what traditional distribution was. I mean, you wanted to sell your film, you wanted to reach out to people and have a lot of eyeballs in your film, and that could convert in income, which I think is a very important thing to do, because as we all know, documentary filmmakers, we don't make any money, most of us. Some do, but we struggle for a long time. So we have to find ways of changing that narrative and start being sustainable, So this other different avenue for distribution is called impact producing. And the difference with the transactional is that impact producing is transformative, has to be transformative. And I love that those definitions, because really they go to the core, Here I am with my film Sense of Silence, presenting it in Spain in a prison to sexual violence offenders. My film was about sex trafficking, and I made it for women. And suddenly I discovered a new niche, totally a niche audience, unexpected, and it was sexual violence offenders. And my film started transforming them. I couldn't believe it. So this is what we want. We want to transform society, human beings, and in the most unexpected ways. I mean, we have to be creative for that. And sometimes we get these gifts of life, Anyway, I continue. So what is impact? I am going to do something which is, I'm going to use a couple of definitions by Peace is Loud. Is an organization that works on income campaigns with films. They are based in New York. They're fantastic. I collaborated with them in some projects, so I wanted to use this and give them proper credit. The influence of a film for transformative social change, okay? So it's interesting because with my film Sense of Silence that I was just talking about, I started taking, this was my baby project, it's a personal project too. So I started doing impact with the film and doing impact producing with the film before I knew what that meant. I just took the film to the world. I took the film wherever I could, to shelters, women's shelters, parliaments, cultural centers, you name it. And unbeknownst to me, I was doing impact producing. That's how I discovered what it was. So one of the first questions that people usually ask is, when should I start my impact campaign or thinking about my impact campaign? And I wanted to say that in our case, it was really unbelievable because we started from the onset. You know, when the first time that we were able to shoot interviews at a women's shelter here in Southern California, like 3 months after that, the women's shelter founder called me and she said, Chelo, we need your help because there is a state budget cut in California. They're going to send the 150 women and children we have here to the streets. We have to do something. Can you please do something? So we were at the time creating a little work in progress, 10 minutes. And we said, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to use it. So we used this work in progress for a fundraiser that they did. And our main character came through and spoke for the first time in public. And it was very, very incredible, very moving. And thanks to that fundraiser, the women's shelter was saved. So that was like back in 2008, and the film was released in 2016. So that was really at the onset, and the same summer that we started filming. So impact producing is maximizing a film's potential for social change. And what is outreach for impact? Identifying and contacting a film campaign's target audiences. As I was saying, you set up, a list of target audiences. Then you have to think outside of the box to target, to reach out to those audiences that maybe you never thought that you could reach with your film, but your film may have that potential hidden, And of course, you are based on the specific campaign goals, create awareness, bring clarity to an issue, engage audiences to join a movement, influence policy and legislation. What is engagement? The process of creating authentic relationships and activities between a film campaign and its target audiences. Well, this is essential that they say relationships, really partnerships, and they also say activities instead of saying events in this definition. But I wanted to say that, those relationships, those partnerships are core to your impact campaign, and you need to start developing in the beginning. As soon as you start, like we were shooting at this shelter, so the shelter became a partner, and then every other organization that we touched, it became a partner, or we engaged them to become a partner, and we'll talk about that later, And then activities between a film campaign and its target audiences. Activities, and it doesn't say events, because events, sometimes we think of an event like, screening, Q&A, But activities are much more involved and can have other ramifications. You can create a screening with an art competition after that, et cetera, et cetera. So you can be creative about those activities and those events. So an impact campaign, as I said, timing is of essence. You have to start early, and it has to be transformative, and you have to set up your transformational goals. Whether you want to promote an inner change, individual change, like my film Sense of Silence was more like of an inner changer because it really moved people at a soul level, because it had my personal story in there. I'm not a trafficking survivor, but I'm an abuse survivor. So I was able to connect, to empathize with the audience heart or souls in many different ways. And there are other films that are much more political in nature that can change legislature and change society in many different ways. Okay, and then you have educational impact, and most importantly, that I always tell to all filmmakers, that you need to design your impact campaign in a way that is sustainable, and we'll talk more about that. I wanted to tell you about how this transformative change happened. Okay, so with Sense of Silence, after 3 years of being in the film festival circuit, I was back in Barcelona, and I was suddenly accepted to they invited me actually to present the film at the Festival Terre des Femmes in Germany, in Tübingen. And it was like the last film festival because, okay, yes, there's a point in where you say, okay, this is enough. But they invited me to go there. And I said, well, can you, since you're going to bring me there, can we do something else? Like maybe can we present the film at a prison or at a school? And they say, oh, yeah. We'll bring you to this school that we collaborate with. So I go to this school, and you cannot imagine what happened for me. It was so important. There were senior high schoolers, and then one of them at the end of the presentation and the Q&A, he comes to me, can I talk to you, please? Can I talk to you? And I said, sure. So we start talking, and he said, you can imagine how unbelievable is that you are here right now. Because he was 17. 3 years ago, I was 14. I found your film on YouTube. So much for piracy. I'll talk about that later. I found your film on YouTube, and you can imagine how much it touched me because I was abused, et cetera. And he started telling me the story. It was so unbelievable the way this kid was touched that we hugged, and then I left, and then I told to the teachers or the team that was there, I said, well, this is amazing. This kid was so moved, and he had already seen the film, and then they told me that this kid had a huge problem, and they have even like a special chamber, or created a small room in the school for him to come in when he couldn't contain his anger. So it was a kid that had really suffered a lot. So for me, it was a beautiful thing. And also a parenthesis to say that we are all filmmakers so paranoid, and I'm the first one, about the films not getting into YouTube and pirate and everything. I've had amazing stories about the films that have been pirated in my case, even though I've gone to YouTube and said, no, this film cannot be here, and I have removed them from there. But no, this is an amazing story. And then I was invited to another incredible conference in Buenos Aires, and they flew me there from Spain because the film was on YouTube. So sometimes we have to be open that many opportunities are going to come to us in different ways. Okay, so some of you may know this young girl. Guess who she is? I mean, she was, this is Amanda Gorman, that you know from the Climbing the Hill, the Hill We Climb poem at Biden's inauguration. And she was, she had been helping with the film. She was a production assistant, and amazing when I presented a workshop on human trafficking at a middle school. This is in 2014, so 3 years before this. She was at that workshop, and after the workshop she wrote to me and she said, Chelo, I have created. She and her sister, twin sister Gabriela, they created this club on human trafficking at the middle school. So that was beautiful for me too. I showed a little bit of the film, but not very much. But even with that little bit, it had an impact too. Okay, so of course, transformative social change. Here's Tanya Matos, amazing activist, and From Here documentary, one of the documentaries I work on as impact producer. Then this is Sons of Silence protagonist, Virginia Isaias. She meets in Madrid with camp protesters against violence. They were camping in the Puerta del Sol plaza in Madrid. And the sign on the top says, apologies for the inconvenience, but we are being killed. This was a huge protest against the killing of women that continues to happen everywhere in the world. In Spain is one of the countries where we count the women that are being killed. And in the US, they are not publicizing this figure. So there are different ways of dealing with this issue. But anyway. Okay, so this short film, Through the Wall, that is, go to Vimeo, you can check it in there. It's only 6 minutes, it's beautiful. I produced it with Tim Nakashi, which is a great director and the great director of the film. This, I'm very happy because we released this short in 2016. And now, this year, so many years later, it's been used by the Friends of Friendship Park to block the construction of the thick, impenetrable wall designed by Trump for this park in the San Diego-Tijuana border. that now the Biden, progressive Democrat administration is building. So anyway, I'm very, very proud that the film is being used for that. And it's just a horror that what we're doing with this border, in my opinion. This is a couple of pictures from that film. Okay. And then also legislative change. I was invited to present the film and Sons of Silence also at the European Parliament. And then I was able to help bring other films there too. So, it's not that I have the key. Don't come to me because I may not be able to do anything. But a series of circumstances and teamwork with the filmmakers, et cetera, make these things possible. And I think it's very important that we bring them to all levels of society, This is with me here with a couple of European MPs and my daughter, Sangeeta, who came there too. This is the film I was mentioning about with Tanya Matos about immigration, anti-racism that I'm working on still after a year and a half. Now it's, the funding has dwindled, so it's just a little bit, but I can, as an impact producer, you can be with a film for a long time. And this is a fantastic team, and I'm very proud to be part of them. Also, our team created, especially the German team, they created an amazing campaign for citizenship, naturalization, and voting rights. They were able to gather the support of over 100 non-government organizations, which is, I think, fantastic to create this campaign. And then educational impact. Okay, so I wanted to mention there is a little short animated film by Marla Ulloa, which happens to be the editor, one of the editors, the main editor of Sons of Silence. Now she's created this film that is still in pre-production. Is very interesting, and I'm helping her with the impact production. And what she's doing from the onset is she's involving young kids, students, in the creation of the film, in the production of the film. And she's teaching film and animation techniques through the production of this film. That's another way of creating impact. And then she plans to use this film to create a lot of impact in schools and bring the kids too to talk about their experience while they were creating the film. Okay, here we come. It has to be sustainable. How do you do that? Okay, so first of all, very important, and I think nowadays you have to do this. You have to include impact in your overall budget. It used to be that some funders only wanted impact for production, pre-production, production, post-production. But many of them started saying, no, but they include the marketing and distribution. Okay, so we did that. But then we have to also include impact, because marketing and distribution is very important, as we said, and we have to go through those avenues, of course. But then you also have to have all the other alternative type of distribution where your focus is not to make a lot of money with the film, but is to create the impact. But at the same time, you are going to have to ask for help of your partners, your allies. The partners that want to host an event, many people are going to come to you. Oh, yeah, I want your film. This is happening to us in a couple of the films that I'm working right now. People want them for the schools. People want them. The activists want them. Why don't you put it on YouTube? Why don't you release it to the world? This is so important. Okay, yes. Take a big deep breath. I'm telling to the filmmakers, don't rush, because you have to have a strategy to do that. It's not good just to put it on YouTube and, okay, here it is to the world. No. Because maybe no one sees it, or maybe many people are going to see it, but you cannot even measure the impact. You cannot talk to them. You cannot create meaningful conversations. It's very important that we understand that the film is not only a film that we release to the world for it to be seen, watch, and then clack, and now I'm going to watch a Netflix series. No. The films that we are making are films that we want to provoke thought, to provoke questions, to make people think, discuss, argue, if you will, and that's very important. And that's done through the important debates that you create after the film. It could be Q&A with the filmmakers and protagonists, very important. And also, I encourage you to always try to include some member of the partner organization that is hosting the event, or another one that is related to the issue. And it doesn't have to always be experts. It can be grassroots activists also that talk about their experience. But very important to do that and start thinking about the budget early in the process. And of course, funding, you have to start applying for funding to different grants, and also be very creative with impact, because there are not very many grants for impact yet. And in Europe, there are almost nothing. There is Doc Society, but apart from that, very, very few organizations that fund impact, because impact producing is very new in Europe. I was living there recently for 4 years and nobody even knew what it was that. So we have to be creative with funding, and we'll talk a little bit later, but for funding, you have to do everything that Carol Lynn and From the Heart, all those resources they have are fantastic for this, because it's house parties and fundraisers, and, you know, trying to get an executive producer that can bring donors, philanthropists. You have to be very creative to bring this funding. And then crowdfunding is wonderful for impact, because people want your film to create impact, you know. And also there is always the fees. And fees, I always say they have to be, we try to do always sliding scale fees, because not all organizations have the same budget for themselves, and so you have to be quite flexible. Just try to accommodate, because sometimes organizations that don't have any capacity to give you fees, like sometimes you do films on the other side of the border, like we have done, you can't expect that they're going to give you fees, but many other things can come out from those events, even if you allow for a very low fee to an organization, an NGO here in the US or in Europe, and you know, developed countries, if they don't have a lot of money, you can find ways that they can connect you with other partners, with other networks, try to find out how different ways in which they can contribute to the film. You know, they can put you on social media, they can do a lot of work for you that is not, some translate in cash, let's say. And then the other thing that is interesting is interns. Some interns interns should be paid, and sometimes there are organizations who can provide interns, and I will tell you about this a little later, that you don't have to pay because the organization is basically kind of covering whatever is needed for those interns that are students, for example, you know. Okay, so we already talked a little bit about this. For example, in our case, we were able to get interns with the film From Here on immigration and racism. We were able to get interns from Beirut, DC. They are based in Lebanon, and they are an amazing organization, and they really teach impact to filmmakers around the Middle East, etc. And they were involved in an impact production course, and one of them, Manar El-Zoheri from Egypt, which I believe is today joining us, went ahead to create not only a screening for us, but a workshop on impact producing for film students in Cairo. Oops, sorry. And this is not... Okay, so this is these are 3 pictures of the workshops in Cairo, and in the middle is the filmmaker Cristina Antonakos Wallace, next to her a local student holding Christina's baby. Yeah, but that was incredible, because she came to us to learn, Manar came to us to learn about impact producing, and I think she learned a lot. But then what happened is that she was able to implement her first impact event and impact workshop in her own country. So that's kind of like impact, like a vicious circle of impact that is beautiful. It perpetuates the impact in a way. Okay, goals. Very, very important to set your goals for impact. So there are people who are very clear on their goals. Like, for example, Hazel Garland Puller of Storming Caesar's Palace. She was very clear. She wanted to have a screening at the US Congress. And with Mocha Media, a fantastic impact organization that I work often as a freelancer, we work for 2 months with that goal in mind, calling legislatures, offices, et cetera, et cetera. So that was like a very focused goals. And I recommend that you also try to make your goals very focused to begin with. I would say 2, 3, 4 impact goals that are very, in this case, she only had one at that time. Then she developed others. But anyway, yeah. So now I'm working on another project film with Mocha Media too. And it's the San Onofre syndrome, SOS, the San Onofre syndrome, nuclear powers legacy. The goal was, in principle, to reactivate all the activists around the country and beyond who have fought to shut down nuclear plants. And they wanted to awaken them into the new reality of what is happening with the nuclear waste that lasts for billions of years, and that has become, unfortunately, our legacy for future generations. So in their goal was to reactivate, like encourage those activists to now come and restart, become, in the campaign, becoming advocates against this nuclear waste with the purpose of eventually say no to nuclear plants. Unfortunately, that's a terrible monster that we have created. Okay, so there are different ways. Your goals: leverage the film premiere, theatrical virtual day and date release with current partnerships, allies, supporters, and then seek legislative opportunities too. Create new partnerships, catalyze public awareness, educate youth, galvanize policymakers and advocacy groups, and then seek your territories. In the beginning, Nahid presented me saying, in the presentation, he said that I was going to talk about how to create an international impact campaign. Yeah, so everything I say is kind of international because that's how I work for all of the films that I worked on. And you have to, sometimes I see filmmakers in the US are very focused, US focused, but you have to really open your eyes to the possibilities outside the US. Because I think your films can really create amazing impact beyond our borders. And then another goal should be generate income to sustain the campaign. Sometimes in the films that we work, alone as an independent or with Mocha Media, we strive to generate these fees by which, sometimes it's fees, so screening fees, speaking fees for the filmmakers, and sometimes just splitting the box office income, because sometimes you do events, even impact events in theaters, of course. Okay. So, Tim, it's very, very important to understand that for your impact campaign to be successful, really, you need to work with the team, and you need to work with social media, you need to work with publicists, domestic distributors, international distributors, educational distributors. And I realized that it's already 10:33, so I'm gonna go a little faster. Okay, just to say that sometimes impact producers, even though broadcast is not our main focus, you can create broadcast, you can identify broadcast opportunities like we did with Nazreen, for example. We were able to secure broadcast with NHK in Japan, Al Arabiya in the Arab world, which it was amazing because for this film about Nazreen Sotoudeh, the amazing human rights activists imprisoned and sentenced to, I don't know how many, 39 years in prison and 139 lashes. Anyway, we were able to, through Al Arabiya, to get the film through the borders of Iran, reaching out over 40 million Iranians. So that was really like an amazing, consequence of the impact. Yeah. So quickly, impact producers' role: creating a strategic impact plan, help create the budget too. Well, you can do all kinds of things, in my role as impact producer, I help with language versions of the film, advice on the educational guide, support the filmmakers, a broadcast release from materials to negotiations, many, many things. And just quickly, management tools, very important. I use Trello and Podio. Those are great. There is also a table I haven't tried. And then you need to kind of organize the phases of engagement with your allies, with your partners, whether it's outreach, they are interested, they're committed, they engage, because this will help you then to measure how your impact has gone. From our point, the deliverables will be impact campaign report, summary of results, database of contacts, and recommendations for moving forward. Well, this is I'm going to go a little further because we have to finish my portion. These are amazing resources, docsociety.org. They have an amazing impact guide in many, many languages. And Active Voice Lab, the prenups for partners, is a very interesting, Google it, is a very interesting document that deals with all the aspects of a partnership for impact. I want to thank Pieces Loud, Doc Societies, CS Society, Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs, MoCA Media, the Fletcher Fund, and Working Films Real Change, How to Build a Social Issue Campaign Around Your Film. That was the first residency for impact that I was invited to in San Francisco, like, I don't know, 2009, something like that. And then thank you so much too from the Heart Productions. And this is my email if you guys want to note it down. And I'll finish by reading this incredible quote: start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Okay, so I'm going to...
that is a great quote. Thank you very much. Now let's take some questions.
Okay, their question, and also Chelo, you had a website you wanted to share with the team.
Oh, well, if you go to innerlens.com and click on the impact page, you will have a questionnaire there. And you can send me the questionnaire if you are interested in getting a consultation with me. And maybe, and then we'll talk about it a little later. Yeah.
Okay. So let's cover some questions. The first one here, let me cover one from Marcy. The question is, are there specific educational platforms that these social impact films should be trying to get on?
Okay, so you're mixing educational platforms. Okay, there are educational platforms. Well, there is... what do you mean by educational platforms? Okay, there is Canopy, who was born as a platform, and then it became very much focused on educational and also in the libraries, etc. But there are educational distributors that you can work with, and the impact producer can work with, to create impact in schools too, because it's kind of an overlapping, educational and impact. When you say, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but the answer is I don't know exactly what you mean.
Okay. Marcy, if you can type in your question again, try to be more specific, please. And then we'll ask the question. And then the next one is, Gabriel is asking, when it is time to release the film, especially for shorts, how do you approach boosting on YouTube and weighing views versus clicks, versus comments versus complete views?
Can you repeat the last part?
How do you weigh views versus clicks? Like likes, I would say, people like a video, or comments versus the completed views. How do you weigh this?
Okay, that's a good question for a social media expert, which I'm not. And by the way, I didn't talk a lot about social media, but social media is very important. And usually you have a team of social media people working with you, and you can supervise. Okay, when you release a short in YouTube, that means that you're giving it for free. So then I would say, well, did you release for free like this because you just like eyeballs? But that's not a strategic impact. I would say, before releasing it, you need to have a strategy. Why are you releasing it? Just to give it to the whole world, as I said, or are you just want eyeballs? Just put it there and then start counting. Everything is great. Views are very important. Likes are even more important. I think when I go to YouTube personally to watch a video, it's very important that people liked it. but it's also very important that many people view it. But launching the film to YouTube for me is like launching it into a void. So as an impact producer, from my perspective, it's a little bit like not maximizing the potential of that film. That's what I can say.
Okay. And then as a follow-up, yes.
Nahid, Carol wanted to intervene.
We're working with the gentleman helping us to learn all about creating your own channel, which is where everything is going. So the point is that he tells me 45,000 items a day are uploaded on YouTube. That's your competition, a day. So when you say I'm going to put it out there for everyone to see, that doesn't work. You really have to have a plan, like Chelo was saying, but most importantly, there are lots of tools now that you can use to learn how to get something ready to go online. vidIQ.com is one program. And the social networker we have, what he does, he has a program and he runs it through the program. Let's say you have something that's 20 minutes long. Well, it will tab. This section is about, let's say, education. This is how you can get help with this problem or that problem. It gives you the areas to choose from, because no one wants to watch a long piece anymore. So they might watch 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So the tabs will tell you the various subjects within that time. And that's what you want. You have to do some work on it. You can't just upload it. And you also have to have a market for it. Who are you going to drive there? It's not one of those field of dreams where you build it and they will come. This is a business now. YouTube is a business, and you have to understand the business practices. Maybe I can get him on a class in the future, because it's important to learn. But she is right. Pay attention, because if you put it there, it'll sit. You might get 100 views over 2 or 3 months or something, but you're not getting an impact, and you work too hard not to have that. So thank you, Nahid.
Okay, thank you. And then a follow-up to Marcy's question, educational platforms to reach people this way, like PBS, etc., who are the educational distributor companies that should look at the film?
Okay, well, again, it depends on what film, what is the subject. So that question is just going to depend on what film we're talking about. And this is not the moment to talk about individual films. Yeah. PBS has a big educational distribution, and my film Sounds of Silence is in there, but not necessarily. You know what I sorry, but I have to talk about the distributors in general, including PBS. It's you who have to create impact with your film. It's you who have to eventually distribute it. Because in my experience, distributors take the film because they need to fill in a portfolio. And then they have to go to this festival or this meeting and show, look, we have a huge amount of films and this and that and that. And your film is one little film in that huge list and nothing happens. You don't see a dime. And it's not only about the dime. It's like, you can't even, some distributors, you have to be, this is another conversation for another day, but you have to be very careful in what kind of deals you sign with distributors, and always retain the right to distribute your film from your website. That's fundamental, the first step. Because then you can do your own impact. Then you can do whatever you want with the film from your website, create events, this and that, Because if you trust the distributors, believe me, you're going to be asking for money in the streets, because there is very little money that comes from them. Now, if you work with a distributor hand in hand, have a plan, have a really act smart and really with a lot of work, you can use the distributor platform and you distribute it and you create a huge social media program or campaign to publicize that platform where your film is, yes, but it's your work. You and your team need to do that work. And for that, you're going to need funding because you're going to need impact producers that help you, so I don't know. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Francisco is asking, do you have any recommendations, resources on impact tracking and reporting, qualitative and quantitative?
Yeah, that's for another, maybe we should do another webinar. I don't have them right now, but I can send that to you when we send out the email with the recording of this film. Yeah, I mean, there are, I know there are organizations, Doc Society, for example, maybe even Active Voice and other organizations that are trying to do this measuring. For me, the measurement has been basically, there's two forms of measuring. And you can measure the number of events, the number of attendees per event. You can measure the number of likes, etc., and social following that you have created. Have to build a momentum in social media. All those are measurable facts. Or you can measure by the fact that maybe your campaign gathered 400,000 signatures and was able to impact legislation, and there's one fact that makes your whole measurement and your campaign successful. So there is different ways depending on the issue that you are tackling. You're gonna measure different aspects of it, or all of them.
Okay. And Shayla is asking what percentage of the total budget is good to save for impact budget?
That's a good question. I don't work like that. For the films that I work on, I would say that it's just going to depend on like I would say distribution, whatever you have for distribution, do the same for impact because it's another type of distribution, Of course, impact, the only good thing, well, with distribution, you also have income when you get your film into a theatrical release and you have box office income. And with impact, you get the other income that I already explained with the fees, etc., But I think it should be the same, and it just depends on the budget of the film. Because here there are people who have shorts, I heard, and there are people who have features so the budgets are huge. But I would say, okay, let me think. I'm very bad with numbers, but I'm gonna do a quick thing here, if you allow me. Let's say you have, oh Jesus, you have a 500,000 budget documentary, which is kind of the low side nowadays. Okay, so I would say you need to probably add, I would say that would be probably without the impact in there, but you need to probably add $75,000 for impact. That's a lot, but add it in the budget. Maybe in the end, you end up only getting $25,000 for impact, which is also possible. You can do like 3-4 months of impact, maybe 6 months, stretching it a lot, depending if you hire one impact producer or if you hire a company. If you hire a company, then your impact is going to be bigger. So it's going to depend on the funding that you're going to seek, But I would say $75,000 for a feature film on impact. And then you can readjust depending on where you are in terms of funding and possibilities and your goals, whether you want to go only to the US, you want to go international, you want to keep it local. There's many factors involved in that when you are going to create that impact, that budget.
Tanya is asking, if the film is time sensitive, does it make sense to go through the festival season?
Okay, so depending on the time sensitive, like right now we're working with SOS and Onofre syndrome, nuclear powers legacy. They really, it's very sensitive because according to them, we're all going to die very soon because of this nuclear waste, or could die. There is an accident. No, let's put it that way. So they really, really wanted to just release it as soon as possible. But we started with festivals because festivals give you prestige and can give you, and some festivals can reply early. You don't have to wait 6 months. And then they give you some kind of validation that people look at you, oh, you got an award. Okay, now I want to see it. Unfortunately, people still think like that, even activists or other constituents and groups, So yeah, I would still do the film festival, but I wouldn't wait necessarily. I mean, nowadays you can do, like right now with the SOS San Onofre film, we're doing film festivals, but we are doing already impact screenings. We just did one in San Clemente next to the San Onofre nuclear plant that is located between LA and San Diego, And we did it with a partner organization there. And we're doing now other ones with the whole Stop Holtec Coalition in New York State. So we are simultaneously doing it. So my recommendation would be do it simultaneously. You cannot wait, do it at the same time. It's going to help your film to do the film festivals too. Some of them, the only thing is that you have to be very careful because some festivals are very particular. If you have a screen here, no, then I want the premiere. Like, for example, I know a film festival in New York that we probably may not be able to screen it there if we do a screening in New York City. But be careful how you frame it, because you can always frame your impact screenings as this is just an activist screening. This is just like an impact screening. It's not like our premiere. We're keeping the premiere for your festival, but this is really like or you can do screenings for the funders or for the supporters, or for, you can do screenings by Zoom with many other people and always call them impact screening. Don't call them premiere. If you call it premiere, then you're doomed for festivals. That's just a little trick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Julie is asking, do you recommend adding the logos of donors to our film's Facebook and Instagram banners? Then we can tag each other's pages.
Can you repeat again? Recommend to put in the logos of other partners or
of donors to our films?
Oh, yeah. I would definitely put the logo of the donor with a link to it. I mean, I would definitely put all the partners and all the donors. I mean, when they are like entities, I would definitely include them in the website, and try to tag them when using social media. I wouldn't put their social media tags in your film website. That should be just yours. I hope this answers.
Okay. Do you find that, this is from Jody, do you find that more controversial subjects are more difficult to find funders and donors? How do you overcome their concerns?
Yes and no. Because funders, depending on the funder, they may not want to find a film about the corporation that are destroying the Amazon, or the people who are trying to shut down the nuclear plants, because Edison and Holtec are invested on that, and maybe they have connections with big corporations. But there is always a way. I mean, there is always donors that are going to defend your cause and give you exactly because you are not listening to the corporations that are going against the greater good of humanity, So yeah, no, I think you can find it. Don't be deterred by that. I think you have to be creative again. Just find the right donors, people who are connected to the issue. Do a lot of Google search. Look at other films. See who donated to them or who were the funders, and just approach them. You should approach everyone that you think that has some kind of is aligned with the issue in your film. You need to do that, and I think you'll find a lot of support, especially if you are trying to do a good for society. Even if your subject is controversial, there's always donors at both sides of the spectrum. This country is especially here. This country is very divided. You'll find them.
Yeah. And then Julie's asking, at what point should we add our documentary to IMDb?
Right away.
Okay.
I mean, you have, depending, I don't know, if you are, I recommend to be, I am an IMDb Pro subscriber. So maybe that's why I can put all my films in the beginning. But I think in order to put the IMDb, just check the guidelines, because you need to. There are certain requirements that allow you to create a page for your film, especially if you don't have any other pages in there. If you're a newcomer to IMDb, it will be more difficult. But if the film has some kind of official website, some press, some links that you can put there, because they don't want student films. They want films that are, going to be in the market. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then Gabriel is asking, what if there's not an obvious impact goal or partner? For instance, social art films I've made for, and he's put a website there. How do you handle that scenario?
I can't see the chat very well because there's too many things.
Yes. What if there's not an obvious impact goal or a partner?
Yeah, sorry. What if there is not obvious impact goal or partner?
For instance,
social art films.
Social art films, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can't talk about your particular films, but social art films to me look like they have a big impact potential. So you have to look at it like social art films. Wow. Well, you're conveying a message or several messages through the social art. Right there, you have impact. And your goal, of course, can be change society through social art, because those people, I don't know exactly what is this film about or these films, but if you're portraying people who are creating this social impact and they're sending a message, you have it right there. It's just a matter of how to look at things and make the best out of them. I'm sure you have a lot of impact there. Yeah. Potential.
And Francisco is asking, is there a good film length that is better for impact campaigns?
Sorry, is there what? A good film length?
The length of the film, for impact campaigns.
No, there is not a length, but the length is important for an aspect of the impact campaign. Like, for example, at one point, PBS only wanted my 52-minute cut that I did, because I knew for broadcast in Europe, you need 52 minutes, But 52 minutes is talking about features, 52 minutes is a very good time to have a second cut. I will always say, okay, you can have your feature length, 90 minutes or whatever, and then have another, if you can, create a 52 minute, because with the 52 minute, not only broadcast in Europe and sometimes here too in the US, but also it's much easier to place in conferences, because they always have slots that are maybe 1 hour or limited, or even less than that. If you want, you can have a 30 minutes. Sometimes we've done this with some films. From here, for example, we presented at a university in Spain, and it was like, okay, we're only going to show the first 30 minutes of the film, because we need 30 minutes for the Q&A with the students. So you can also do that. But ideally, just have a cut that is a little more condensed, that you can show in conferences, and you can be the keynote speaker, or create a special seminar within that conference, and just it has to be a little shorter than the feature length. So yeah, I would say for features, 52 minutes. But then, short films are great, because for short films, they're so volatile. I mean, it's not volatile, the word, but I mean, they're very flexible, allow you for a lot of flexibility. You can bring them to many, many places, you can create great conversations with them, So yeah, go for shorts too. I mean, 39 minutes is the Oscar short length, I think. So go for 39. 39 is a great length too.
Yeah, thank you. We'll take one more question, Chelo, and then I'll turn it back to Carol. So from Susan, what are some faster ways to get feature films out there in a big way besides starting with film festivals? My film about Amazon Pantanal destruction is urgent for the survival of life on Earth and cannot wait a year to be in a film festival.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, are you talking about creating an impact campaign with it, or are you talking about distributing it widely, then you can talk with National Geographic, you can talk to Netflix, with all these people, all those platforms but then again, the same thing, even if you have it there, if nobody knows that it's there, people are not going to see it. So it's just the same, it's your work that is going to make it widely available. It's not, don't think that it's like the magic wand of a platform that, it's in there, and no, even in YouTube, as we said before, it's your work. So start working early. You can start sending it to film festivals and let them come back to you whenever they come. But don't wait for them, but do the impact campaign thing that I was saying. Just try to do the work yourself. You are the one, the creator of that film, the passionate one for that film, is your baby. You take it to the world. This is what I did with my films, and now that's why I'm helping other people.
Thank you very much, Chelo, for this informative
Okay,
class.
let me answer this question that I just saw by Ophelia de Pablo.
Oh, that just came in.
In
Okay.
Europe. Okay, so there is a I didn't mention this. There is an organization called GIPA, GIPA, is Global Impact Producers Association, and they are also there are also impact producers in Europe, and beyond Europe, and so yeah, you can check that. Anyway, sorry, Nahi.
No problem. I didn't see that, just came in. So I think we've covered all the questions. In case people have questions, Chelo, I've put your email in the chat box. Can they reach out to you via email? That's the best way, right?
Yes,
or the website.
By email is the best way. And also, this is the moment where on my website, or you can put it there, the questionnaire that I have and I hid for people who are interested in a consultation. You don't have to fill in it right now, but just copy the link. Okay, is this the moment where I announce the special bonus? Yes?
Please.
Okay. So we have a special bonus for these webinar attendees. Anyone that attends today, the live event, will have the chance to receive a 30-minute free consultation with me, 15 minutes to revise materials, and 15 minutes to discuss them. It's very short, but it's a start. And the first 5 people who post their email in the chat right now will be the lucky ones. See if anyone is interested.
Oh, wonderful.
1, 2,
That's so
3,
much.
4, 5,
Wow,
6.
we have
Okay,
many more,
got
many
them.
more. Woo!
Well, the
Okay, we have.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you so much.
You need someone to run your impact campaign who is excited about it, who is thrilled about it, and who will keep you powered every day to go through all the shenanigans you have to do to show your film after you spent 5 years making it. But Chelo will do that for you. She is great at keeping everybody in a good frame of mind. There's always something down the road that she sees, an event or a award for you, something there for you. So when you start on the second half of your film, the most important one, actually, you need someone to help hold your hand, direct you, and keep you moving forward. That's my opinion. And thank you, Chelo. That was a great event. Lots of good news, lots of good information. And what a big heart you have. Thank you. And tell us, I got a book for you that was 100 famous people, and there you were. It was so great to see you in this book. Who was this? Tell us more about the book. How'd you get in there?
Well, there is a book called 100 Making a Difference, and I'm a little humble because it's a coffee table book, beautiful. And this famous Hollywood photographer, John Russo, had this idea a long time ago because he was, photographing all the celebrities in Hollywood. So then he started concentrating on those celebrities that had a cause, that had a foundation, etc. So somehow they found out about our film, Sons of Silence, and they contacted Virginia Zayas, our protagonist, who is also in the book, and they contacted me, both of us. So we each have a page, and I'm amazed because Malala is there, and my page is right after Catherine Zeta-Jones. I mean, all that kind of, of top celebrities. And there I am, and I'm not a celebrity. I don't even wear makeup. I mean, I'm like totally grassroots activist, advocate. But there I am, and Virginia is too. So yeah, it's a little recognition is not bad.
It's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. You should be very proud. It's exactly where you belong. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and I'm sure that you've helped a lot of people today. So let's get into the fun side here, and let's have some questions and answers about films, because I love films, and so do all of you. So here's a good question for you. In 1967, there was a 400-minute Russian film that was released, and it was shown in theaters over 2 nights originally. And now you can get it online. It's 4 1-hour films. So what's the name of it is the question. All right. It's a great story. And I'll give you this hint. It was taken from a Russian book. So let's see if anybody gets that. It's a tough one, but I just recently saw it. It's probably Roger Ebert says that this film and Gone with the Wind are the 2 most important epic films ever made, and that this film is probably the best epic film ever made. And I think it's wonderful. It's amazing when you look at how they achieved all of the cinematography is outstanding. And those people who love cinematography, you must see it, because there's some big scenes in it with ballroom dancing, and they put the cinematographer on skates. So they rolled him around, they pushed him around the ballroom floor, and he got the most extravagant photos of people dancing. It was fabulous. And the director was on the side of the camera with a scarf. He had a red scarf, sometimes a white scarf. And so you would get these little flashes of color as you move through the ballroom scene. So did anyone get it?
Yes, War and Peace. Tamara answered it.
Well, congratulations. Great. That's a great film. This cinematographer also created a camera for the battle scenes, and he put it on a big rail, and it had at the bottom of the rail, it had a cushion so that he could start the camera over here, push it over here, and it would just float across and end. And he learned how to set the distance and the speed of the camera, and he got extraordinary shots from this. So if you do nothing else, it's on Criterion now, and you can also listen to the cinematographer talk about the ideas, the creativity that he came up with for shooting the film. So in 1929, at the first Oscar, what was the film that won the Best Picture prize? Does anyone know that one? You really have to be a film buff to know that. Oh, so what we want to give you is a couple of classes in the producer class. Carol Joyce and I started this producing class because, let's say you're making a documentary and you really need a good producer, but you can't afford the producer. We're covering so much about fundraising, as well as all of the other aspects. There's 26 classes, because this is a 4-year course in college that you have to take to learn how to really produce properly. So we're covering all the major aspects. And we are doing it so documentors can raise enough money to hire an experienced producer to come on board and take you the rest of the way. Or if you've written a great screenplay, the chance of you getting it sold is not easy. But if you learn how to produce it and start raising money, You could then do the same thing, bring on a paid producer and make the film yourself. That's another way. Independent filmmakers are very creative. So this is why we thought a producer class would benefit you. So Naheed did.
Yes, we have a winner, but we have two winners. So Tamara won again, said Wings, and Marilyn won.
Okay, good.
So we'll give it to both of them.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what was Leonardo DiCaprio's first and only Academy Award for? Which film did he win for? It was a very cold film. You felt like you were freezing most of the time. That's a good hint.
Haidar won it, The Revenant.
Yes.
So congratulations, Javier.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Our goal here is education for the everything classes. We all need to keep up with what's happening in our industry because it moves pretty fast. And so we thank you very much for joining us. And I'm so honored to have you, Chelo, to tell us all about impact. And thank you very much, Naheed, for your kindness and for managing the class. And to all of you, just remember, you are the magic. You are the creators. So you are the ones that bring us all of this great information. And if when you're applying for grants and you get turned down, just keep on going, keep going back. We've had a lot of people win our grant when they apply 3 times. Tenacity is the backbone of the filmmaker. You're on a good path, you're educating yourself. And so the thing to remember is that you are the magic. Lots of good luck with your films. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.